discuss. We got business to discuss. We got business to discuss, gremlins. Okay? And that business is what the hell is happening in lands in China? My goodness. Oh my. What? What's happening over there? What's happening? So we got business to discuss, okay? It is the talk of the town right now, okay? If you don't know what LADS is, LADS stands for Love and Deep Space, which is a mobile game. It is a female gotcha game. It is an otome game from China, from the company Paper Games and Infold. And it is about you have like love interests that you there's like stories and stuff that you can play through, combat systems, all this kind of stuff. I love this game. I play it every day. I love and Deep Space. I got introduced to it a year ago. Um and It's been a good time. That being said, they just announced the release of a new love interest, which is the first love interest added to the game in a year and a half, something like that, 2 years. It's a big deal. They announced, and this character's name, his Western name is Valko. He's a werewolf guy and a CEO or a chairman of a company. Okay, he's a himbo energy. Um, he was like werewolf themed. There was some mixed reactions when he first came out from a lot of different people, but for the most part, people were very excited. I felt in the global community for him. But there seemed to be at launch already some upset feelings, particularly from the Chinese fan base of the game. And to put it in perspective, it's a Chinese game that got global attention. And so the demographic is 70% Chinese, right? So they were first upset because Valco looked too Western and a little too tan. But that was just the superficial reason. They were more upset that the Infold, the company behind Love and Deep Space, decided to release a new character and new content for this character, while the other 5 love interests have not really had updates to their main storylines or other content in like over a year. They kept on focusing just on new banners and not really expanding the base storyline and base features of the game, which is true. It's been a little frustrating to see that, but the banners have been really fun to indulge in and all that stuff. Okay? But they took a lot of serious offense that a lot of the financial resources, right? Because it is a gotcha game, so it relies on uh primarily women spending money on the game. Uh, but they were upset that a lot of people, and I mean, people have spent thousands of dollars on this game. People spend a lot of money on this game. Um, they were very upset that their money was basically being used for new content that they didn't ask for. Um, at the sacrifice of the things that they have been asking for being ignored. So Love and Deep Space is about you're the main character, MC for short, and she's part of the Hunters Association. So you're investigating basically monsters and that are on the I don't know space dimension tunnel, literally deep space, the deep space tunnel. Okay, is like where it comes from. And you have a special power referred to as evol, which is literally love spelled backwards. By the way, it's love spelled backwards. That should have probably been the first red flag about the creative or maybe lack of creative ingenuity on Infold's part. They're like, they'll never guess your power is called love backwards. Anyway, Uh, but so you have your evil is very special. A lot of people are evil users. But yours is very special because, and it's a very coveted power because what it does is that when you resonate, so it allows you to resonate with other evil users, making other people's powers stronger, right? So you are a very valuable team member. And so they basically use that as a way to also communicate the intensity of relationships and your connection to the love interest within the game and things like that. Okay, that's like the base storyline. And what's very popular in Otome games is that there's tropes, right? You have different kinds, just kind of like in a dating sim, right? There's different kinds of girls, right? You're gonna have the tomboy girl. You're gonna have like your tsundere one, who, or the you're gonna have your maybe your yandere. You have like different tropes, right? Like that's very popular. Otome games are the same thing. So there's like a doctor who is your childhood friend who's like a little cold, but you kind of warm him up, and he's literally his power is like ice. There's a guy who's like the princely type, and so he's very, gentlemanly or whatever. Then you got the bad boy. You got who's mine, my favorite love interest, which is Silas. He basically runs a mafia organization in the underworld. I love him. He is my precious baby. Then you have like Raphael, who's an incredible artist, who's also a merman and used to be in charge of this mermaid kingdom. You got all kinds of stuff. Caleb, who lived with you, so it's kind of like this pseudo incesty kind of thing, but it's not because you're not really related, but you grew up together. Kind of. Apparently, that's a big thing. That was the first time I was made aware of like the big difference between like the Chinese fan base and like the global fan base because they had a banner which was very like Star Wars, Star Trek inspired, right? Like fantasy space themed. And Caleb's storyline was like their brother and sister, and a lot of people didn't like that. They're like, "What? I don't like that." But in the Chinese fandom, they're like, "Oh no, we love this. Thank you for leaning into this." So different strokes for different folks. Whatever, you know. So anyway, so they got very upset about this new love interest that dropped. But then there were some other things that started to happen in the promotional material for the love interest. um they're like, oh, he either he was conducting experiments or he is the result of an experiment, and they named the experiment 731, I think. Please fact check me. And 731 is a very controversial number associated in Chinese history because it represents um basically human experimentation that had happened on Chinese people by the Japanese during World War II. Okay, so there's some baggage there. And so they're like, why are you even bringing that number in? And they actually tied it to human experimentation within the game, whatever it was. So, uh, and then they also took issue that there is within the game, you can like they have like a little Sims thing where you can like you have a house, you can upgrade your house, you get little props for your house, home decor, whatever. And they're coming out with a new update, and they said something like, "Oh, beware of the boiling water" or something. And Valko, who's a werewolf boy, they were making a reference to like Three Little Pigs, like fairy tale kind of thing. But apparently, there's a very famous case in China where a husband uh basically murdered. He killed his wife, and what is he threw boiling water on her or chopped her up and boiled her, something crazy like that, something crazy. So they didn't like that. Only see different things. I think that was a bit of a stretch. The political stuff, I can't really say whether or not, I didn't know anything about that. So that's not really my place to comment on. But it just compounded. It just compounded, and basically what happened is that some of these issues are more than just a new character being introduced. I think it just shows like the mistakes of thinking on Infold's part, while also, apparently the Chinese fan base is very aggressive and very passionate. They had first tried doing a class action lawsuit against Infold, but then it escalated where then Chinese fans of the game were going to Infold and Paper Games headquarters in China and literally sending funeral flowers, like what is it, white and yellow chrysanthemums, which I guess is symbolic for being like you're basically cooked, you're dead. Um, and literally putting cow dung in employees' lockers, literally physically harassing the employees and the company at the headquarters to the point that the headquarters had to start hiring more security. And then on top of that, there have been, and once again, these aren't all Chinese. Like, there's actually a lot of Chinese fans that were very excited about this new character coming to the game. There are plenty of people who also tried, like Chinese fans that were very enthusiastic about this new character coming. That they tried to go to Infold's headquarters and literally give them bouquet of flowers, not death funeral flowers, but nice celebratory flowers to say thank you so much for this new character. I really love this character. Like really sweet gestures. So but of course, the angry and aggressive voices tend to overpower the positive, loving ones in situations like this. And so then some Chinese fans have said some very not very nice and very nasty things towards like the global community fans and fandom members in retaliation and anger. And so this morning, and by the way, Valko was announced, and then they were censoring the whole booth that they had mounted at Anime Expo, which is like the first big. They'd had like they did like a small thing last year, but it sounds like they're doing like a really big installation at Anime Expo this year. And it was all centered around Valko's release. So they're bringing official lads cosplayers to like cosplay the love interest so you can take pictures and you can do the photo ops and all this stuff. And it was all centered around his debut. Anime Expo is the day after tomorrow, by the way. And this morning, Infold announced and Paper Games announced, Love and Deepspace announced that Valko is like, they put that dog to sleep. They straight up said, we are pulling Valko and we're never introducing any new love interest ever to this game. We're only focusing on the stuff that exists. No new stuff. That's it. Pulling the plug. That's it. Ain't that crazy? So their response, because here's the thing, it would make sense to say like, hey, we understand that some things within the narrative can come off as problematic. We're going to take a moment. We're going to reevaluate. So we're going to push his debut to later. We're going to fix it, whatever. Totally understandable. Totally get it. But to capitulate and say to say that we're not going to add any new content, like any new like characters to this Otome, and we're throwing this thing that has been in development. Like that cosplayer that was playing Valko just lost their job during Anime Expo. All the devs and the people behind it, a voice actor lost their job. And just like literally money that went towards its development just like down the drain. Like I'm more pissed that I have financially contributed to the game. I was like, fine, I wasn't as gung-ho about Valko like as some other people, but not in the way of like, ew, I don't like him. I was just like, I'm gonna wait and see what this guy's about. Like I wasn't immediate like, I was like, we're gonna see. I gotta get used to him, you know what I mean? I'm a very loyal Silas girly. But it's just wild that they hyped an entire global community over new content, and they're like, nope. Literally 48 hours before his big debut at Anime Expo, they're gonna drop all this content after people already started spending money in game in preparation for this guy to come. They straight up will yell at him. They're just like, "Come here, dog. Your time is up." You know, they literally said that. They literally said, "Come behind the shed. Come behind the shed, and we'll take care of you real good and real easy." That's what they said to this poor himbo. He don't do nothing to nobody. It's crazy though. Hearing some of this stuff, like so crazy. Like they called. Hold on. Let me show. I just can't get over this. Like I didn't realize just how like crazy this was getting. Let me show you. Let me show you what Valko looks like. If you're not familiar, I'm gonna show you. Okay. Okay. I'm just. I. This is the thing that drove me crazy. So this is Valko. I just wish he had long hair. I think that's my thing. I would have liked if they had a love interest that had long hair. Cause that would have felt different right off the get go. You know what I mean? Look at Valko. Look at Valko. There were a bunch of players in China that were upset because they said this guy looked too tan. They said this guy was too brown. Bruh. Bruh. They said he was too tan. They said he was too tan. They said he was too tan. Dude, Jackie Chan has dark tan. This is crazy. I couldn't believe when people were like, he's too tan. I was like, what? And they said that he was too Western looking. Listen, there's literally 6 love interests in this. Like, there's 6 love interests. Also, hold on. Let me show you in comparison. Like, this drives me crazy. Okay. Okay. Let me show you all these. Okay, here is I love that Zane and Raphael not here. That's hilarious. Because these are the best boys. So Raphael, Silas, Caleb, and there at the very end is Valko. Okay. How is Homie too tan? Like literally doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense. Yeah, it's called colorism. It's called colorism. That's what I'm getting at. I'm getting at the problem is that they capitulated to a bunch of people who are being colorist. That's crazy. That's crazy because let me tell you, all the global fans were like, "Okay, he's too tan for you. We want him. Here, come here, good boy. Come here, good boy. Come here, Valko. Good boy. Good boy. Who wants a belly rub?" There's plenty of people who are very excited to play him. So he's not your cup of tea. There's literally 5 other guys that you could be hanging out with. It's crazy. I'm so confused too. I was like, I just can't believe that they're like, this guy is like tan. I was like, what? I was like, bro, don't tell Latina about like tan. Don't tell a person of color about colorism. I mean, that's just crazy. There's also been some other issues in the game that they've ignored because of how aggressive like that particular demographic of the game has been. For instance, there's been brown and black fandom members have complained about literally the lighting in certain scenes and how they've just like they didn't take the care to make sure the lighting made sense for the different skin tones because light reacts differently if your skin is paler versus if you have more melanin. Like it's literally science. Like it's not, that's why a lot of like brown and black actors and actresses will complain that sometimes like cinematographers don't know how to light them because they don't know how to light darker skin. Um and so that was a problem within the game. And Enfold is like literally started deleting responses and started like just ignoring it. And a lot of Chinese fans were basically like, just get bent. nobody cares about you because we give the money to the game. And that's been the same sentiment this time too, where a lot of Chinese fan members or members of the fandom are basically being like very nasty comments, being like nobody wants your like insert racist uh comment here involved in this game. I saw someone being like, just say that you're excuse me, just say that you're a slut and have no loyalty to any of the characters, which is crazy because at the end of the day, these are just fucking pixels. They're sexy pixels. There are pixels that make me do things, but they are not real people. It's just crazy seeing this. So crazy. It is wild seeing, and this is and I was reading some discourse about this situation with lads because lads is like, not everybody is into Love and Deepspace, but now a lot of people are jumping into the discussion of Love and Deepspace because this whole situation has been being printed in like the press in China, like normal news in China. And so then you have a lot of people who are jumping into the conversation just because um they want to fan the flames, so to say, because apparently Paper Games had some other past issues with some other game company. So then people are trying to go after Paper Games because of that. Um, then there's people who just like getting involved in things that just have anything slightly political. And so it's become a real storm. And so now I'm seeing people who have never talked about lads ever all of a sudden be like, so this is crazy. It's actually very disappointing to see that that was their response. Like, I feel like if I were Infold, I would have been like, I'm sorry. Here's some compensation. They already tried compensating with some gems and stuff. But they're like, okay, here are some gems, which is like the in-game premium currency. They're like, so sorry about that. We want to make it up. Here you go. If they had issues with some of those things, I would have just delayed his debut, fixed those things, and then debut him at another time after those things are fixed. But like the Chinese fandom is just like not about it. And I was like, why are they putting so much? Why are they listening to this one particular fan base so much, right? And I just didn't quite understand it. And so I think somebody published a chart. So here is a good, I'm going to show you this. So I didn't quite understand why they were listening to this particular fandom cry so much. So here's a little breakdown of financials, right? So you see this little lavender color, lavender periwinkle color, that represents Chinese spending on the game. It is obviously very heavily, significantly more than the global fandom combined, which is why they're capitulating to Chinese fandom demands. However, it's just kind of wild because they're bleeding fandom peeps. So look, here's a problem, right? You have this person who said, I hope more CN girlies quit the game because of Valko. It'll help clean up the fandom. And then this person says, just know that lads will flop and bankrupt without their Chinese fan base. Speak before you think, dumb bitch. Most of y'all eat up lads' content without bringing in any actual revenue. You are useless to infold, yet you keep licking their boots. Pathetic. Like this, these are common, that's like common sentiments. I was like, dude, this is a video game about imaginary men. It's about imaginary men. Why are you being like this? This is crazy. But it is wild. See, this is the thing I was telling you about. So they had to up their security because of people literally harassing workers at the headquarters. It's wild because compared it to Hoyo, which has their own issues with the Scaramouche issue, where they're receiving similar threats, they stood 10 toes down and kept to their guns to their story. once you once you do this, it shows the fandom that they ultimately have control of what can be done. That is what happens. It takes the power out of the creatives and puts it within the consumer's hands, which, on one hand, I do understand for a gotcha game because the business model is literally dependent and reliant on people playing the game and financially investing in it through gotcha and gambling and all that stuff, right? However, it's like a little crazy to be sending cow dung to employees who happen to be just making their like money. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy behavior. Like, here's the thing. I actually don't. I think I think when some of the Chinese fandom was saying, hey, why haven't you updated the main story in over 500 days? Totally, totally reasonable. Totally understandable. And I also think that's upsetting, especially as a Silas girly, because it's mainly Silas and Caleb who hadn't had main story updates in a very long time. They have the least amount of 5-star memory cards. It's hard to actually do some of the combat stuff because they are very imbalanced in terms of the amount of memories available. And when you're trying to do some of those challenges, it literally is impossible sometimes because they literally don't have the same memory library in game compared to some of the OG love interests. So I understand that. I understand that frustration. And Info totally should have seen that coming, that you got to work on both. Like, here's the thing with Genshin Impact, somebody explained to me that a good comparison for those who are into Genshin Impact, I used to actually play Genshin Impact quite a lot. When I first started streaming, the two games I played all the time was Genshin Impact and Dead by Daylight. Um, Basically, they would have deleted uh like they would have like they could have just like killed off or deleted Scaramouche and then you were stuck in Fontaine for like an extra year. That's basically what they said because in their statement not only did they say, because let me pull this up, not only did Love and Deep Space, okay, not only did Love and Deep Space decide to cancel the launch and any further development of any new love interests, okay, first they did that, but going forward, the entire team will focus on further developing the stories and long term companionship experience of our 5 existing love interests while ensuring a stable pace of main story production and updates. Raphael's new solo slot memories and companion will be revealed in July. Far Space Far Space Colonel Caleb and Onikainis leader Silas will also return to their main story branches in September and November. So we ain't gonna get shit until then, is what they're saying. Okay. Um, uh, September and November, respectively. By participating in the relevant events, players will also be able to obtain the corresponding 5-star main story branch memories for free. Yada yada yada. So basically, not only they delete it, they're like, okay, now you're stuck in basically limbo for the entire summer. You're not getting any new cards, none of this stuff. That's it. Here's the thing, the internet is a really big, big place, right? You're connecting with people literally all over the world, and not everybody views the same issues the same because it's not as much of an issue in their countries, whatever it is. Some people haven't had certain conversations. Like, for instance, like in the United States, identity, individualized identity is a really big thing in the United States. So that's why you have people who talk about their sexual identity, their gender identity, their ethnic identity, because the United States really is this land of so many different cultures and people, right? And uh and it has a complicated history with marginalization, all this stuff. So one thing, like, and and I bring this up because this is like interesting to show how some things may be centered around like discourse in America, but not in other countries. So, in the Latin community in the United States, there's been a lot of conversation about the language surrounding gender neutral identity if you're Latin. Okay. So, The Romance languages are very gendered languages, right? They have male and female forms of words, and the default for neutral is usually using the group term or whatever it is, or the group term is defaultly male. Okay. So, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm Latina or I'm Latino, right? And so a lot of people started coming up with alternative terms that felt more gender neutral, like Latin is a gender neutral term, Latinx is gender neutral, right? However, a lot of international Latin countries, when being told, oh, like, well, I'm Latin, I'm Latinx, make fun of people for using those terms, calling them gringa pendejo. They're calling them all kinds of names because it's just not a discourse that is within their own country, because those countries inherently are that identity. And usually, more the conversation comes in is like what we were talking about with lads is colorism, classism. Those are big issues internationally, right? And how they handle things. So in like the cosplay community, sometimes you get European cosplayers who don't know the complicated thing of why don't do blackface in cosplay, especially it just there's a lot of things like that. Mm. But that being said, just because there's always a moment for learning, and I feel like we should hold space for people to be able to learn. But when those people decide to dig their heels in the ground and say, no, that's weird, is when I think that then they're open for criticism, because here you are, people are taking the time and the patience to educate you, and then you're like, screw that, I don't want to do that. I don't want to draw people darker than I want to because I don't want to deal with that. It's harder, which is bullshit. Just like literally pick a different color in the color picker and fucking Photoshop and call it a day. But it's crazy. It's just like, for you to then be like, no, that's fucked up, don't tell me to do that. It's like, well, but that's the reality. That is what it is, and you have to be open to that information, because that is what it is. Like, you can't just say I'm not going to do it because I don't like it, and then people are going to be like, well, that's kind of racist, and you're like, no, it's not. It's like, well, yeah, you're having literally an aversion to the thing because of the skin color. I think that's a little prejudice, homie. Sorry. Usually I don't have like serious discussions like that here, but it is very interesting that I love when people are like, politics and video games and entertainment do not mix. Here's the thing. Video games are art. And art is inherently political. It is inherently political. I don't like politics in my fandom, while they are also Star Wars fans. Like, come on. Like, because art is a reflection of society and the world. Like, there's always going to be something. And there's so many things that are nuanced allegories or metaphors for real things. And so I find it crazy when I get into discourse like this about video games. And I'm like, dude, like, people are like, I can't believe it. This guy, this guy, let me pull this back up. Or is it? This guy is tan. He's too tan. Valko is too tan. I just lose my mind. That's crazy. That's crazy. You can just enjoy the game without indulging in that content. It's not like when you were logging in, like they're like, you have to play through this. Like, they're making it an option. Scroll by. It's not that big of a deal. Like, if you don't like it, just like move on. There's plenty of stuff on the internet that I don't like. So I just move on. I don't make a fucking manifesto on Twitter. I'll call out when people being bullshit, like when IGN wrote that dumbass review of Mouse PI, because I think media literacy is incredibly important. But I'm not gonna write about like, dear internet, I think that Valko is too tired. He is too himbo for me. and his haircut looked too giga child. I hate this game. Must be defunded right meow. That's stupid. Like don't fucking play him. It's that simple. Don't play him. Now the criticism is about maybe making allusions to very serious political events. Now you're talking about something that I think is worth discussing, right? If you're talking about certain numbers or say associate, like it's like being like, oh, Caleb is a pilot. Caleb is a pilot. And then all of a sudden, oh, he dies, and it's because he crashed into a building or whatever, and they use 9/11 or something, right? I can understand how that may be a very controversial inclusion in a video game. I can understand that. And so that is a point of serious, I think, criticism that I think the company should reevaluate. But just because you don't like his fucking cheekbones, my God, like that's not like a thing. That's not a real reason to boycott a game. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's literally preference. Like I can't believe it. Wait, you're telling me I can just log off? Well, actually, even Bug, because of course, her and I were talking about this, and she was like, I don't even know if I want to like play this game anymore because this just kind of shows where their headspace is at. Look, this is wild. Hold on. An official Lads Valko is canceled. Hashtag. Petitions have started. And I love this very, like, look at this very, like, this person wrote a very just simple response. They say, why not keep Valko up the awards, commit to no more future allies and actually releasing content for all 6 guys at a more regular place, including free content. But that's not what's happening. So anyway, this is crazy. This is wild. Because I think it's more complicated than, I don't think it's as simple as like, oh, like there's certain things that the Chinese community, I think, were just upset blindly about, which like comments about like, you wasted my money by making this new guy and he looks like shit. It's totally subjective. Like, I'm sitting here being like, oh my God, I can't believe they're re-releasing like this Zane myth or whatever. And because I'm not really into this character, but I'm not thinking of that. I'm like, okay, so I skip this one, save my stuff for the next banner that has Silas or whatever, or the character that I want. It's that simple. I understand some of the other points that were being discussed, but I just think it's totally abhorrent behavior to be starting to go harassing dev members like that when like in person and things. Like, that's crazy. And apparently this is not the only game to have experienced this kind of backlash. Like, they literally, like, Chinese fans have called this, like, they've called certain actions that Infold has done like a declaration of war. I'm not making that up. Those were words that were said by the fandom. I'm like, what? Declaration of what? What? Bruh. But yeah, so that's my opinion about that. The lad situation is wild though. For reals.